General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida was born on the 17 August 1941 in Wushishi in the central Nigerian state of Niger. His father was Muhammad Babangida and his mother Aisha Babangida. He received early Islamic education before heading to primary school and subsequently secondary education at the famous government college Bida in Niger State. Famous names like Generals Garba Duba, Gado Nasko, Sani Sami, Muhammadu Magoro, Abdulsalami Abubakar and many others were classmates at the government college Bida.
Right from primary school, he's a brilliant student, and while we are in primary school, he was made prefect. By the time we went to secondary school, he rose from being the class monitor to a prefect and to head boy by the time we were leaving school. So you could see how right from childhood he grew up with this leadership quality.
General Abdulsalami Abubakar said General Babangida is more than a classmate to him.
Ibrahim is not a friend, but a brother. Because at that time, wherever you see Ibrahim, you will see me. Wherever you see me, you look around, you will see Ibrahim. They saw the same clothes and so on and so forth. We sleep in the same bed, grew up together, you know, just like children grow up in a polygamous house.
And fire at a place called
Young Ibrahim Babangida joined the Nigerian Army on 10 December 1962, where he attended the Nigerian Military College in Kaduna. He had his eye on a different profession, but he met a persuasive army recruitment officer and decided to take on military as a profession.
The northern Nigerian government, they made it a policy to go around to recruit younger generations to join the Nigerian army. And I think it was very successful because they organized it properly. Ministers were going around the secondary schools to talk to students about prospects in army, career in the military. We got carried away by what they talked to us, and a lot of us in my school then volunteered to join the Nigerian army. And this is, initially I wanted to be an engineer. I could have succeeded in that because I was very good in the subjects.
Somebody who was raised as an orphan, somebody who was raised in a polygamous house. In fact, his decisions to join the military is part and parcel of that particular upbringing, which is a factor of both his family, culture, his environmental realities, and his personal dispositions. So these tripodal elements really shaped and reshaped and keep on shaping IBB until he transformed from just IBB a man into an IBB as a soldier.
Joining the military was the beginning of a long career that will have impact on the history of Nigeria, the West African sub-region, and even the global scene. On 26 September 1963, IBB was commissioned into the Army as a second lieutenant, regular combatant officer with Army number N438. IBB, as he is fondly called, served the Nigerian Army in the following capacity. Commanding officer in the Nigerian Civil War 1968-1970. Instructor at the Nigerian Defense Academy NDA 1970-1972. Regimental Commander of the Nigerian Army 1973-1975. Commander Army Armored Corps 1975-1981. Army Staff Duties 1981. Chief of Army Staff 1984. General Ibrahim Babangida became head of state of Nigeria and commander of the Nigerian Armed Forces in 1985 after what many historians refer to as a palace coup. At the inception of his administration, General Babangida resolved simultaneously to put the economy on the right and sustainable path, as well as pursue programs of political democratization. In the economy, IBB was an advocate for the use of market forces as means of solving the various crises in the Nigerian economy. He opened up the debate on whether to take the International Monetary Fund (IMF) loan. The public rejected the idea of accepting the loan. General Babangida did not take the loan, but to everyone's shock, he went ahead to implement the recommendations of the IMF regarding the economy. When he started implementing the IMF conditionalities, the IBB administration got many other different loans from the IMF.
He still went ahead and implemented some of the conditions that the IMF and the World Bank had put in place without taking the loan. And they call it a homegrown approach. So that was the beginning of the economic liberalization, which came up very strongly with the budget speech of the 1986 budget. So that 1986 budget has all the details of the economic principles of the government, which were called Structural Adjustment Program.
One of the key features of SAP was the diversification of the productive base of the Nigerian economy by reducing dependence on oil. IBB wanted to generate employment, increased indigenous participation in the economy so that the welfare of Nigerians will improve. General Babangida pursued the liberalization and deregulation of the economy, which were intended to encourage competition, entrepreneurship, innovation, and general growth in the economy. One clear evidence of the deregulation of the economy is in the broadcast sector. Deregulation paved the way for many private individuals to invest in broadcasting by setting up radio and television stations. This singular act by IBB opened up the space in the broadcast sector, which eventually ushered in telecommunications that revolutionized communication. The foundation of GSM has been laid. The rest, they said, is history. Nigeria has now become an important global player in the telecommunications sector, especially with its large population, which ensured a ready market.
That is one of the things I'm very proud of, because we liberalized and I'm glad you are taking advantage of. So congratulations for the expansion.
IBB is still proud of its economic policies and believes in the industrious nature of Nigerians.
Freeing the economy, allow the Nigerians to use their brain, to use their hands, to use their innovations. I think the liberalization I'm very proud of it.
In order to reduce the cost of governance and unproductive investments in the public sector, IBB started the privatization and commercialization program. He vigorously encouraged the local sourcing of raw materials, which was aimed at vertical integration to promote local industries and small and medium enterprises. Within the framework of his general agenda for reformation, General Babangida created agencies and corporations to help in the implementation of the various policies. The National Directorate of Employment (NDE) was established to provide skills to graduates in order to get them gainfully employed. Hundreds of thousands of Nigerians benefited from the NDE. He established the Directorate of Food, Roads and Rural Infrastructure (DIFRI). DIFRI opened up many rural communities that had difficulty accessing basic infrastructure. It was a program of integrated rural development aimed at meeting the rural development policy of the IBB administration. MAMSA stood for Mass Mobilization for Self-Reliance, Justice and Economic Recovery. It was an exercise in political orientation in Nigeria. It was established on 25 July 1987 as part of recommendations of the Political Bureau headed by Justice Samuel Koki. The central goal was to cultivate support for the transition program of the Babangida administration. It was an avenue to educate Nigerians about the political process. MAMSA eventually became the National Orientation Agency, which has continued to engage in public enlightenment at the grassroots. The legacies of General Ibrahim Babangida are numerous, and many of the institutions he established have survived up to now and have continued to benefit Nigerians. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, the National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, are all still in existence and performing useful service to the generality of Nigerians. Analysts have posited that one of IBB's remarkable legacies is in politics. IBB believes that a political program must be gradual, purposeful and effective. He believed that Nigeria must set a new set of values, a new set of political attitudes and culture aimed at ushering in a new set of order. IBB figured that the beginning of an effective transition to democratic governance involved a large measure of reforming of our institutions.
His option A4. I thought his, what we call the new breed political model that he brought. I thought about his two-party system, one to the left, one to the right, so that Nigerians must find accommodation, so that it will bring not only political stability, democratic development, but it will equally bring national integration politically, vertically and horizontally. So in politics, these three things were highly unprecedented, not only in the history of Nigeria, Africa, but in the whole world. You may like IBB's face. Like I said, he's a man of many colors. And it depends on which side of the coin you belong, or on which stone of the horizon you are standing to look at those colors. But in terms of political system, these are unprecedented.
Foreign policy experts have explained that General Babangida also made remarkable progress in the area of foreign policy. He maintained the originally held notion of Africa being one of the focal points of Nigeria's foreign policy. However, General Babangida's foreign policy projected Nigeria as an important regional power to be reckoned with. Nigeria, during his administration, invested massively in foreign policy.
He told us, we diplomats of those days, that our greatest challenge is to reinforce the economy first before we spend most of our time talking about African politics and African unity. I think this is his greatest contribution to Nigerian foreign policy. He was the one, through his Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ike Nwachukwu, developed the concept of economic diplomacy for Nigeria. I was part and parcel of that team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
If you look at his foreign policy, all along, Nigeria has been taken for a ride by African countries. Africa has been the centerpiece of our foreign policy. I will say, I'm not going to change it, but I'm going to jiggle it a little, give it a sense of direction and destination. And he pursued economic diplomacy. Yes, we support you, but with our economic interests attached. And that is excellent from foreign policy. Liberia, he put ECOMOG, over 3 billion naira. United Nations both bowed to him. He was recommended all over the world. He brought stability in West Africa, not only Nigeria, through ECOMOG.
The legacies of General Ibrahim Babangida will continue to be seen in the Nigerian landscape. Lagos is a cosmopolitan center of trade and commerce. As an old commercial city, it attracted a large population. Lagos consisted of people looking for opportunities, civil servants and businessmen. It was also Nigeria's capital city. These factors combined to make the city densely populated with a lot of congestion. Public sector investment was very high in Lagos in order to solve its many challenges. General Ibrahim Babangida built the famous Third Mainland Bridge in his effort to solve the nagging traffic congestion that had become a menace to residents. Although the decision to move Nigeria's capital from Lagos to Abuja was made as far back as the 1970s, it was General Babangida who finally took the bold decision of actually relocating the seat of governance from Lagos to Abuja. Abuja is a more central location. IBB built many infrastructures in Abuja, thereby laying the foundation of a modern city that has continued to grow. According to the United Nations, Abuja grew by 139.7% between 2000 and 2010. As of 2015, Abuja was experiencing an annual growth of 35%, retaining its position as the fastest growing city on the African continent and one of the fastest growing in the world. The credit goes to many dedicated public officials who also contributed, but IBB will always be remembered for making Abuja a reality. He built the International Conference Center, ICC, where national and international events still take place. IBB built the ECOWAS Secretariat to facilitate the work of the West African Regional Economic Bloc. He built many of the road infrastructures, thereby opening the city and making it a more cosmopolitan center. Many of the people we contacted who know General Babangida described him as a friendly and personable person, but who displayed firmness where there was need for it. While in power, he received the support of his colleagues in his primary constituency, the military. IBB's colleagues supported him for his charisma, self-control, intelligence, and his ability to make concessions when necessary.
He is somebody who is very friendly to all people he comes across in his life and human relationship. He's a very friendly, kind-hearted, and very articulate personality.
He internalized other people's problems as his own. So that's what makes him an indispensable. That's his typicality as an individual, and that's what makes him a soldier.
He is an open, charismatic leader. Very, very open to discuss. He talks with everybody. He's very much at home with politicians, with religious leaders. There's nobody that he's at home.
One interesting thing you may find about him is that, and I think is one thing that as leaders we should emulate, is that even when he makes mistakes in those decisions, he never blames anybody, he blames himself.
And my battalion was...
General Babangida embraced the military with commitment, hard work, and dedication. He made the military an important career and rose rapidly from one rank to the other. Here is a profile of his steady rise in the Nigerian Army. Second Lieutenant, 1963. Full Lieutenant, 1966. Captain, 1968. Major, 1970. Lieutenant Colonel, 1970. Colonel, 1973. Brigadier General, 1979. Major General, 1983. General, 1987. General Ibrahim Babangida was a participant in some coups that were staged by the military. He and many young army officers of northern Nigerian extraction took part in the counter-coup of July 1967 that ousted General Ironsi. IBB took part in the coup that ousted General Gowon. IBB played significant role in aborting the 1976 Dimka coup. Historians hold the view that General Babangida planned and executed the palace coup that brought him to power in 1984.
If in our belief in patriotism, something is going wrong, as people who have stake in the governance of the country, what was there to do? Sit and fold our hands and look as things decay, or intervene at the expense of criticism? We'll be criticized for doing so, but at least in our hearts of heart, would have achieved one thing. We saw our country going to decay. We decided to intervene to save the day. On that premise, General Babangida, to my mind, did what he was supposed to do as a leader.
Why should I cast a doubt in anyone?
General Ibrahim Babangida is a devout Muslim and a warm and responsible family man. He believes very strongly in the family as a foundation for success. IBB married late Mariam King on 6 September 1969. They are blessed with 4 children: Aisha, Mohammed, Aminu, and Halima.
There are people we read.
General Babangida is the recipient of many national and international honors. Prominent among these are the Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, CFR, the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, GCFR, an Honorary Knight, Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath, presented by Queen Elizabeth II. General Babangida has remained a controversial Nigerian leader. While many Nigerians hold him in high regards for his compassion, generosity, friendliness, and his contribution in the leadership of Nigeria, some others criticize his government for being corrupt.
There were pervasive corruption, and again, to be sure, when regimes are not democratic, the principle is always that abuse of power becomes a bit easier when institutions, structures are not operating. When the person is more important than the institutions, abuse of office becomes a bit easier. And therefore, you are not able to excuse a military role with challenges of corruption. One of the ones that we made reference to actually has to do with the Gulf oil windfall, which is the one that the press had made easier reference to. But again, the country has a strong history of corruption. And the trajectory of that corruption is that it's been increasing all through. I'm not sure that we have made any significant progress to tame the spade of corruption.
Experts have also said that a careful analysis of the economic sector during the IBB administration will indicate that not much public sector investment was undertaken by his government. They indicated that while liberalization freed the economy, encouraged entrepreneurship and creativity, there were serious issues that negatively affected the economy.
We had to suffer some losses. Because when you open up the market without protecting, because we had young industries then that needed to be protected. For example, if you remember, around that time, you were buying Peugeot car 5,000 naira, 6,000 naira, Volkswagen 4,500. And because we are assembling the cars in Nigeria, those cars, and the spare parts like tires were also being made in the country. So those industries needed to be protected. And then you have the textile. Now we have lost over 2 million jobs in the textile industries, the industrial graveyards in Kaduna, in Kanu, and even in Lagos. The textile garment industries gone. And we're a major producer of cotton. Nigeria is a major producer. So why would Botswana be doing better on garment when they don't even grow any cotton? But that industry required protection because of the mass employment involved in them. And but the protection didn't come because we were just delivering the IMF conditionalities and opening without protection. What then happened was that our market was flooded by cheap and substandard goods.
The structural adjustment program had a very significant shock on the economy of the country at that particular time. A lot of industries closed down, and that was massive. Jobs were lost significantly, and I'm not sure whether the country has actually recovered from that shock of liberalization that happened.
Some critics fault General Babangida for being difficult to pin down without slipping away. One of his typical surprises was the cancellation of the June 12, 1993 elections. The unpredictable nature of General Babangida earned him the iconic names Maradona and the Evil Genius.
As an individual, I will not refer to my leader as a Maradona. One, you've just said it yourself, Maradona was a footballer. If you want to refer to certain antics, quote and unquote, that General Ibrahim Babangida had, I think look for a better word to use. You are expecting him to come out here, and he came out elsewhere. It's part of the tactics to get the job done.
It's a matter of evidence.
Experts have posited that wherever one stands and whatever position one stands to see the former Nigerian leader, General Babangida remains a patriot who always puts the interests of Nigeria first. One important evidence of that is the bullet shrapnel he still carries in his lungs. It is a relic and a constant reminder that he served in the Nigerian Civil War to keep Nigeria a united and indivisible entity. Most people interviewed urged General Babangida to set the record straight for posterity by writing an autobiographical book.
A lot of things, I hope Ibrahim will one day speak his mind and tell people in Nigeria what's really happened, because one of the sore points people keep talking is about the Abiola election. I hope one day he will tell Nigerians what has really happened, so to speak, from the horse's mouth.
It's still being assessed. Nobody has drawn any conclusion about Babangida. Nobody. People are still trying to dig out what are his driving motives. People are still psychologically analyzing him. And I think it would help us to do that very well if he could analyze himself first by writing his own biography.